I almost lost my business twice. The first time was back when I was doing more of web design, web development. I had just started trying to figure out what my business was going to be. I had to decide how best to make money on the side while I was still in my full time job, but also have the time because I was doing some IT stuff and that was taking up so much of my time. I'd have to go into businesses and fix their computers or go into houses, fix their computers on my lunch break while I was working at my aerospace job. And I started veering toward more web development, web design. I had almost zero skills in designing anything website, anything that had to do with any websites. But I had blogged. I really got into WordPress. I got into Joomla, all these different little platforms. WordPress obviously beating out all the being kind of the big beast for blogging. And so I knew somewhat of how to get your presence on the web. Now, back then, right now you could use WordPress for pretty much any type of website. Back then, you couldn't. It was very much blog oriented. So, for writers and for creative type people. But my skill set tended to be more on the resourceful side. So, I tried to find people who could do that for me at a very low cost. I didn't want to hire people in California where I lived because it was extremely expensive and there's so much regulation. So I figured out how to start outsourcing. And I had been outsourcing a little bit prior to that, but I really truly was able to take all that skill set and find people overseas, whether it was in India, Bangladesh, Estonia, the Philippines, Russia. I could find people to do the things that I wanted to do. Well, the there was this one friend of mine who was extremely popular in social media, and he got invited to this young president's organization talk. So YPO, it's very very prestigious. You have to have a company that's I think doing 20 million a year, and you have to have a certain amount of employees to be a part of it. It's kind of like entrepreneur organization. I'm a part of that. There's a minimum that you have to meet, and once you meet that minimum, it's you're among a group of really well off entrepreneurs. And so I he actually invites me to come to this dinner to listen to him, or this it was a luncheon to go and listen to him. It was over at Pelican Hill in Laguna Beach or Dana Point or Newport Beach in Southern California. Super super nice resort. And after he's done, he introduces himself, introduces me to all the other people that are there, and one of the guys starts talking to me, and we start talking about web design, websites, and he had an idea of what to do, what he wanted to do with a website, and I told him, yeah, I could totally do that. Well, he ended up hiring me. I want to say it was for like $10,000. It was either $5,000 or $10,000. Keep in mind, this is when I was first starting. So either way, it was a lot of money. And so I'm ecstatic, and I know I can build this thing. And so I go and I get all the requirements. I go and we're talking and we're getting what the design should look like, how this should be, and so on. And we come to the final version of what we wanted to do as far as the mock-ups and everything. Well, I go and I start outsourcing that. It starts getting done, and mid-project, if you've ever done any type of web design, mid-project, he wants to make changes. And I told him, well, it's going to cost to make changes because we're already building this thing out. And he just kind of goes dark. And this thing's being built. It's almost, at this point, it's almost done. He then says, hey, I want you to work with my office administrator. What, not office, administrative assistant. I forgot her name. Let's just call her Catherine. So I start working with her. She knows what he wants, and things seem to be going well. And we actually connect. We actually click really well. She's super cool. She lived in Huntington Beach, California with her husband and I think 2 sons. Anyway, so we go and we're going through and building out this site, and she's excited because she's looking at this going, this is awesome. He actually has all these other plans that and all these changes, and eventually it gets to the point where he sees that it's not going, the changes aren't happening to the way that he wants them to happen, and he says, I'd like to just stop this project and get my money back. And I'm like, oh crap. Now we're 2 months into this project or 3 months into this project, and you want all your money back, all your $10,000 back. Keep in mind, I was not very good at budgeting and finances and everything like that at that time with my business. And so it would literally bankrupt my business at that point. And I talk with Catherine, and I said, I'm so sorry. I know that this would have been awesome, but it looks like we're gonna have to stop, right? And I'll just give him his money back. And she looks at me and she says, absolutely not. Are you kidding me? This is not your fault. This is his fault. You at least have to keep half of what he paid you. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. She's like, let me talk to him. So she goes and talks to him, and 24 hours later, she calls me and says, yeah, don't worry about it. You did a great job, and just keep half of the what what he paid you. And I was blown away, because had that not happened, had had she been like, oh yeah, that sucks, or had he been not willing to do the not willing to do the second, keeping where I get half of what he had paid, uh, I would have been out of business. I would have not known what to do. I would have just basically gone bankrupt, and I don't even know if I would have continued entrepreneurship at that point. But that entire experience brought about so many different experiences that would not have happened otherwise. Got me into different YPO things, got me into EO at indirectly later on in life, got me thinking of how to mitigate risk, got me thinking of how to manage scope, got it really solidified how I started delivering websites. And so it was from that point on that I was doing $10,000, $15,000 websites, and it was solid, and everything was outsourced. I had a design team, I had a development team, and I was in the middle. The margins were extremely high, and the customers were super happy. None of that would have happened, though. None of that would have been tightened and strengthened if it wasn't for that specific instance, because I learned so much, and it was such uh, a almost killer of my business that it forced me to become better. So why do I share this? I share this because a lot of what you achieve in life is from doing, not from thinking, not from being in a class, not from listening to podcasts, uh, not from even having a mentor. Everything comes down to doing. Let's say you're doing jujitsu and you're learning how to do jujitsu. You see those guys on YouTube where they go into a cage with an MMA fighter because they've seen UFC their entire life and they know what an armbar looks like and they know what a triangle choke looks like and they know how what a jab and a hook and a cross and all those different things look like. Dude, these guys get into the cage and what happens? They get slaughtered. They could have done as much studying and watching as humanly possible, but compared to the guy who actually, the guy could be 6 months into training, 3 months into training. Compared to that guy, they have zero skill. Yes, they know the moves, they know what they look like, but they do not see. They absolutely do not know and see and feel what it's really like when you get into the ring. Business, life, love, relationships, friendships, all those different things are no different. You cannot become more confident in who you are. You can't become more confident in how you talk, in how you act, in how you move. You cannot become more charismatic. You cannot become a better speaker. You can't get rid of ums and ahs and shaking and all these different things when you're speaking unless you actually speak. You can't get thick skin when somebody gives you a nasty comment on YouTube or on Instagram or on TikTok or whatever, unless you get nasty comments on YouTube and TikTok and so on. Doing is the only way to grow in anything. And that business, that almost that whole industry of web design that almost destroyed my business, I'm not even in that industry anymore because the road took me to all these other places, to where I am now in real estate and business process outsourcing and design and what else? Gosh, you know, couple of merchandise selling on Amazon, all these different things. Drop shipping, not so much drop shipping, but more on print on demand now. But I did do drop shipping at one point in time, and I did about $2 million a year off of that. It was really fun. Um, you have to get out there and do. There's no way around it. You have to get out there and actually start doing and taking action on the things that you want to do. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. You're going to be embarrassed. I've been embarrassed when I was working on my confidence and being able to speak. There were many, many times where I got extremely embarrassed to the point where I could not even go into certain places anymore because it was so awkward. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to learn. Okay? If you want to be more charismatic, that's what you got to do. If you want to be a better speaker, you got to start speaking. You want to be a better web designer, you got to start web designing. And you're going to get punched in the face. It's part of the whole game. But enjoy it. See it as nobody else will do this type of stuff. Nobody else will do it. You have the courage to get out there and actually do it. When all these other people want to sit at home, or they want to comment, or they want to say, oh, you're an idiot, or you're this or that on TikTok, YouTube, or whatever, when you're making content. But look at them. They're not doing it. And there's a reason. It's because they're freaking scared. They're scared to get out there and have those comments thrown at them. It just is what it is. So you can do it. Get out there, start making something happen. Whatever it is, the more that you get out there and do, the more data you get back and the more feedback you get back, and the more success you're going to have, because now you can make decisions on actual true feedback of what you're doing. So, all right, I'll see you in the next video.